And still drilling down on the September inflation data, we see the contributions of items on divisional level to the increase in headline index includes housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuel at about 4.47% year-on-year and 0.35% month-on-month. The surge in inflation is primarily attributed to the removal of petrol subsidies and the evaluation of the official exchange rate. Join us now for this conversation is Mr. Jide Pratt, COO, Iona Nigeria, and Country Pilot Manager, Trade Grid. Joining me right here in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Ladi.
Yeah, so, we have that data. Inflation was expected. It was going to go up. Some even projected it would get to about 28%. But, we're where we are, right now. And definitely it is energy costs is... the whole issue about subsidy, being removed, and we've been having to buy fuel at the pumps for incredible amounts I didn't expect I would ever, see. So talk to me, how can we solve this energy problem in the short term?
It's tough, Ladi. There are triggers to every petroleum product we buy. There's a war going on, Russia, Ukraine. There's the Israel situation, which nobody's sure how it's going to blow out. But the question is that if it blows out and gets to Iran, Syria, then it means that one thing is clear. Prices are going to go up. How do we solve it in the immediate? There are hedging techniques for trading. You decide that I want to take a cargo for a delivery 45 to 90 days ahead, and I want to take that price in now. So you hedge. But is that the total solution? I'm not so sure it is, because the factors that trigger those prices are extingent. You can't control the war, you don't know when it's going to end, and all those put pressure on the price of petroleum product. The sad part is that when we look at it in terms of how can we try to drive it down, one major thing we need to do is find how we're going to refine our petroleum product. The president and his team need to solve that problem, because...
But we've also heard that even though we refine, that doesn't mean prices at the pumps are going to go down.
I'm not so sure that's correct. Prices will go down because the first thing is this: the cost of freight will reduce. There's no rocket science to that. So how marginally it reduces is a different thing. So, you hedge, the freight costs go down a bit, and then the turnaround time. So it means that if I'm going to FOB Mediterranean to bring in a cargo and it's taking me 14 days, if I'm going to the Dangote refinery in Akme, it's basically taking me a 2 to 3 days journey. So I do believe that the freight costs will go down. The refinery efficiency of a brand new refinery will also aid to that. I think those two things might be the quickest wins. LPG is something I also think that we're not looking at enough. For CNG is methane. So what it is that it's pressurized. You're trying to build infrastructure, which will not be short term. But LPG is the lowest hanging fruit. Electric vehicles are also the lowest hanging fruit. So I think those are quick wins that we need to be focusing now.
Right now, and, definitely we expected, pain. Was definitely expected that, taking away subsidy would bring some pain. But although we've had that argument that, subsidy was reduced and all of that, but at this time, would you say the direction the government is going right now can bring some kind of short-term relief?
It's yes and no. The policy is right. Some are not, in my personal opinion. But you see, it's also putting all our eggs in one basket to solve one problem. So look at it this way. If we say subsidy is gone, and you're right, we could not afford subsidy as a country. There's no two ways about that. But government expenditure, has it gone down? I'm not so sure it has. The size of the cabinet, the kind of amount we're spending is as if we're 100% in an okay or surplus situation. We hit 1.7 million barrels for the first time, if you add condensate, in God knows how long. The question is that, how do we sustain that? How do we get to 1.8 this month? How do we get to 1.8 next month? And then 1.8 in December, because OPEC quota, I believe, goes down in January to about 1.34. So it means that the more we bring out from the ground in terms of exploration, the more revenue the country has. But it's also having more revenue and actually spending it, and let me use the word, judiciously. I think those are the things that we need to look at the immediate.
Because sometimes I think in my head, an oil-producing, nation should have, some kind of advantages, when it comes to, the products, gotten from oil. But it seems to be we're not gaining those benefits. It's more like you're an oil-purchasing nation. Why are we still here?
Okay, so I mean, the first thing that we've touched on, we had no refining capacity for so long. I think that changes when the Dangote refinery comes on stream. Because what that does immediately is that we become a net exporter. A capacity refinery of 650,000 barrels per day means that we feed ourselves in terms of distillate. But sub-Saharan Africa becomes a market. So in terms of foreign exchange, we earn foreign exchange. That's one. Oil theft needs to get to complete zero.
Talking about oil theft, now looking at that production, for last month, is it that we're starting to win that battle?
Maybe. So let's be clear. I believe that oil theft has maybe reduced, but I don't think it's zero. I also think that in our computation, there's something called condensate. So I believe that when we're counting our barrels, I believe we're counting crude oil and condensate to get to 1.7. And condensate comes out from gas. It's like liquid when you're trying to extract. So I stand to be corrected, but for me, it's not enough. We have to get more wells to be drilled. So that means you have to make the environment conducive. Foreign investment. You hear a lot of companies are divesting. And some are saying, you know what, I'm going to carry my capital somewhere else. But then again, some local companies are also coming in. The Owando Eni deal is something that everybody's been talking about, Owando buying Eni. So while ENI is pulling out, question is that, can Owando sustain and find further, further oil finds? Then that's a yes. In terms of, you made a statement in terms of we're producing company, and if you don't refine, then it means that you're still going to take out all the crude you have. Take it out, refine it, and bring it back. Look at Saudi Arabia as a perfect example. 12.2 or 12.3 million barrels a day. But they use 3.3. So you see, they've built capacity to explore. And that is something we need to get. We need to just get it right and on a consistent basis.
I saw that report recently said Nigeria State Oil Company, that's NNPCL, has begun buying gasoline via cash tenders rather than oil swaps. And that's for the first time in nearly a decade. And the NNPCL has not confirmed that, yet. But is that a positive?
Yes. And I look at it from the accountability point of view. A lot of people talk about the swaps, and I believe that there was too much secrecy about the swaps. I don't believe there was enough accountability on the part of the NMC in terms of swaps. So what does this do now? What we're saying is that you're going to use the cash you have. And I mean, when we say cash, it's not literally cash. You open a letter of credit, a deferred letter of credit, 45 days, 90 days, whatever it is. But what it means is that the cash available that you have is what you use for the trades. And it's more, for want of a better word, transparent. So, I mean, that's a positive. How consistent that would be, because we forget the fact that we have a major problem in terms of FX. No international trader is going to trade in Naira, in my opinion. So it means that you need more foreign exchange to be able to keep those deals going on a cash basis.
So it's a positive.
It's a positive.
Do you see the NNPC actually, going forward with this?
I mean, look, the NNPC, in my opinion, and I'm sorry, this is my personal opinion, needs to be what you call a real PLC. You can't own 100% of the NNPC and expect the best. And I'm sorry. We have to get investment, the way LNG works, NLNG works, so that way, what it means is that people can invest, get returns, but corporate governance ethics rule that place. So if that happens, then they won't have a choice. You have a board, you have a set of individuals who are basically driving that business from a corporate governance point of view. Then I believe that will work. If it doesn't, I'm not too optimistic that it will.
Right. All right, let's look at the global oil market now. Definitely, we've talked about how, the prices there, determine the prices, at the pump. And we've seen a lot of volatility, recently with the, Israel-Hamas conflict. Do we see $100 per barrel oil this year?
In my opinion, yes. I've been saying this for quite a while. There are too much, and that's the word. The volatility is a lot. If the Israel-Hamas war escalates and hits Iran and Syria, there is no way prices will not go north. This is not a prophecy of doom or anything, but that's the reality. The Russian situation is still not sorted out. So for me, what does Nigeria need to do? If oil hits 100, then we need to be getting to 1.8 million barrels a day. Because in terms of revenue, it means we earn more. I mean, you can't have crude oil prices going up.
With less condensate.
With less condensate. And I'm talking crude now, real crude. Even though there's a use for condensate, for me, crude is crude. And it means that once we get to that, there's more revenue. If there's more revenue and we're a bit more, what do I use? Measured in our expenditure, then it could be a good thing. Once we also start refining locally, then it's a great thing.
Yeah, because talking about expenditure there, I know everyone's been talking about, the Senate there getting all those SUVs, from abroad. I know definitely that has brought up a lot of, conversations. But, going forward, we get to $100 per barrel. If everything stays the way it is, what do you think we'll be seeing at the pumps?
With crude oil, let's look at gasoline. Gasoline is PMS, so it means that if we're getting to 100, we're probably looking at landing costs around 780. And these are just guesstimates, but you see, it's very, very easy. All you do is use the gasoline codes, and then you try and use that with the exchange rate. Now, the exchange rate is also a major factor. Is it available at the CBN rate? If it's not available at the CBN rate and you have to get it at 1,025, then those prices might be much more. But this is what we're going to see. We're going to get to 700 levels, and I don't know where we go from there.
I definitely do not want to see that at the pumps, because I am I'm struggling at the moment.
Neither do I.
Hopefully. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jide Pratt, CEO, COO, Iona Nigeria. Thank you for your perspective today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, after the break, Commodities Market Update is next. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning.